This video is brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/halocanon for a 30-day free trial and a free credit on an audiobook download. Stay tuned for more details. The Covenant, a hegemony of various species brought together under the promise of the Great Journey, the idea that activating the Halos would bring transcendence to true believers. The Covenant operates on a strict caste system with prophets at the top, all the way down to the lowly grunts, and while no species can hope to truly be elevated above its set caste, each species does have its share of ranks and titles, each with more power and status than the last. This is what we'll be looking at today. When I originally decided to make this video, I had envisioned a video going over each rank that appears in each game in the MCC as they come out, but that's far too restrictive and would leave out a lot of potential information that I would love to cover, ranks and roles that don't appear in the games. So today we'll go over each rank and role that have been identified in the lore for each species and where these ranks exist in the games or in the wider universe. And to note, this will just be ranks that were part of the original Covenant. We'll talk about post-war factions and their ranks at a later date. For now, sit back and relax, because this is going to be a long list. Starting things off at the bottom of the Covenant's social caste are the Ungoi or Grunts, discovered by the Covenant in 2142 CE on their homeworld of Balaho. Due to their underdeveloped and weak state, the Ungoi were easily conquered and forced into the Covenant. A rivalry between them and the also low-standing Kegyar, along with Covenant leadership generally being dismissive of Ungoi concerns, led to the Ungoi Rebellion in 2462. Despite their diminutive stature, the Ungoi's numbers wreaked havoc on High Charity and its populations, forcing Covenant leadership to unleash an Arbiter against them. This Arbiter partially glassed the Ungoi homeworld, which ended the rebellion. In its wake, the Ungoi were recognized as capable soldiers when provoked and allowed to join the Covenant military as armed infantry, rather than the unarmed cannon fodder they'd previously been. Ungoi are one of the only Covenant or alien species that do not breathe oxygen, instead breathing methane. As a result, their combat harness includes a methane pack and breathing apparatus. At the bottom of the Ungoi hierarchy are the Ungoi miners, sporting an orange combat harness and often only armed with plasma pistols. These Ungoi are often the most cowardly and are quick to break rank when their commander is killed. Ungoi miners appear in Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo Wars, Halo Reach, from which their most often used design is currently pulled, Halo Spartan Assault, Halo Spartan Strike, and Halo Fireteam Raven, along with appearances across the various books, comics, and other media. Just above the miner is the Ungoi Major. These are experienced Ungoi that sport a crimson combat harness and will often command Ungoi miners. They are often at least slightly more courageous and capable, but often not by much, and more prone to going kamikaze when their commanding Sanghili or JIRALHANAE are killed. These Ungois have been in the game since Halo CE and continue to appear in Halo 2, Halo 3, ODST, Wars, Reach, Spartan Assault, Spartan Strike, and Fireteam Raven. Strangely, in Spartan Assault, they're often seen wearing the white Ultra class armor. Anyway, next we have the Ungoi Specialist classes, starting with the Ungoi Heavy. Sporting green combat harnesses, these forces are often seen deployed with fuel rod guns or heavy turret weapons, or using the support turret on Wraiths or Phantom dropships. The Ungoi Heavy is one of the handful of ranks that transitioned into the post-war era, appearing, albeit in a new armor set, in service to post-war Covenant remnants. Ungoi Heavies first appeared in Halo 2 and continued to appear in Halo 3, ODST, Reach, 4, 5, and Halo Wars 2, among other media. After that, we have Special Operations, or Spec Ops Ungoi. These black armored Ungoi work within the Covenant Special Operations Division along Spec Ops Sanghili. Although, after the Great Schism, the Spec Ops Ungoi that remained loyal to the Covenant started wearing white armor like the Ungoi Ultras. These Ungoi are much more skilled than their infantry counterparts and much less prone to panic, and sometimes even equipped with active camouflage. Though sometimes equipped with plasma pistols, they are more often equipped with needlers and fuel rod guns. Spec Ops Ungoi are seen in Halo CE, 2, 3, ODST, Reach, and Fireteam Raven, along with other appearances in the media. Next, we have a rank that may surprise some people, the Ungoi Storm. Though this rank first appeared in Halo 4, in canon the Storm were a specialized shock unit under the original Covenant. Not much else is known about how this rank functioned within the original Covenant, however. Ungoi Storm appear in Halo 4, Halo 5, and Halo Wars 2. And we wrap up the specialist ranks with the Ungoi Ranger. Though these first appeared in Halo 4, we know from the expanded universe that they were in service with the original Covenant. Ungoi Rangers are trained and equipped for extravehicular activity, or EVA. Their suits can operate in a vacuum and low-gravity environments, and naturally they work with Sangheili Rangers. Ungoi Rangers appear in Halo 4 and Halo 5, with appearances in a few other media. And lastly, we have the leadership ranks. First up among these is the Ungoi Ultra, which sports a silver-white armor like Sangheili Ultras. These Ungoi serve as field commanders for other Ungoi, though they hold no authority over other Covenant species. Ultras are equipped with stronger armor, sometimes equipped with a full helmet for added protection, and are more combat capable than their lower-ranking Ungoi. Ungoi Ultras first appear in Halo 2 and go on to appear in Halo 3, ODST, Reach, and Spartan Strike. Our last Ungoi rank is one that hasn't appeared in any of the shooters, the Ungoi DEACON. Deacons are the highest rank an Ungoi can hope to achieve, or more accurately, the only role they can achieve that doesn't involve military service or hard labor. Organized under the Covenant's Ministry of Tranquility, Deacons are typically assigned to expeditionary ships meant to ensure the crew keeps in line with the Covenant's writs and laws. As one might expect, the authority of an Ungoi Deacon is rarely respected, especially by the Kig-Yar, aka Jackals and Skirmishers, the species having a long-standing feud with the Ungoi. Deacons could also serve as spiritual leaders for other Ungoi, sponsor pilgrimages to the Holy City of High Charity, and sometimes acted as translators for Huragok, or engineers. Deacons dressed in orange tunics, emblazoned with a yellow circular symbol. Deacons primarily appear in the books, but interestingly, they did appear as a unit upgrade in Halo Wars 1, though this appearance is generally considered non-canon. That covers the Ungoi. Next up are the Kig-Yar, aka Jackals and Skirmishers. Kig-Yar hail from Aeon, the primary moon of the gas giant Ch'uot in the Ideia system, which interestingly is only 41 light-years from Earth. When the Covenant discovered the Kig-Yar in 1342 CE, the species had already developed some space-traveling capabilities and had colonized nearby asteroids and planetoids, only about a third of the total Kig-Yar population actually living on Aeon. The Covenant and Kig-Yar came into brief conflict, the asteroids that the Kig-Yar made their homes, providing good hiding spots from which to strike out against the alien invaders. Ultimately though, the Kig-Yar realized that they could not win against a technologically superior Covenant, and could potentially profit from expanded trading opportunities. They accepted the Covenant's letter of marque, commissions to engage in the services of the Covenant, allowing the Kig-Yar to continue the plundering lifestyle that had defined their species for much of its existence. As such, Kig-Yar and the Covenant are basically mercenaries, motivated not by religious fervor, but by monetary reward. The Kig-Yar are a standout species in the Covenant for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the genetic diversity the species exhibits, to the point that one of its subspecies, the Tavawan, also called Skirmishers by humanity, have separate rank structures and roles within the Covenant. As such, we'll start with what are commonly called Jackals, and then move on to Skirmishers. We start at the bottom with the Jackal Miner. These Kig-Yar are equipped with plasma pistols and a turquoise or blue personal energy shield known as a point defense gauntlet. Alongside the Ungoi, they make up the bulk of the Covenant's mainstream infantry. Just above the miners are the Jackal Majors. As is typical with the Covenant, these more experienced Kig-Yar are given better equipment. They have stronger point defense gauntlets that are often orange, red, or purple. Sometimes they have a little extra armor, and occasionally they will wield plasma rifles or needlers rather than the standard plasma pistol. Both Jackal Miners and Majors appear in Halo CE, 2, 3, ODST, Reach, and Fireteam Raven, among other media. Miners additionally appear in Spartan Assault and Spartan Strike. Next, we have the infamous Jackal Sniper. These battle-hardened Kig-Yar trade in their point defense gauntlets and standard weaponry for sniper or marksman weapons. Though they aren't much more heavily armored than their infantry brethren, Magyar snipers are equipped with a special headpiece that smart links to whatever weapon they're using. Snipers can be equipped with the Type 51 Covenant Carbine, Type 31 Needle Rifle, Type 50 Particle Beam Rifle, or the Type 52 Focus Rifle. Jackal snipers most infamously appear in Halo 2 and continue to appear in Halo 3, Halo Wars, ODST, Reach, Halo 4 and Halo 5, among other media. After that we have the Jackal Ranger. This rank again primarily appears in Halo 4 and 5 as far as the games are concerned, but their history with the franchise goes all the way back to Halo: The Fall of Reach. Magyar Rangers are trained for operation in zero-G and low-gravity environments, often equipped with vacuum suits, though not always. Magyar Rangers are sometimes equipped with a point defense gauntlet and an appropriate one-handed weapon, or with a mid to long-range weapon like a Covenant Carbine or Particle Beam Rifle, fulfilling multiple roles in their units. Once again, Jackal Rangers primarily appear in Halo 4 and 5, though they've appeared in other media across the franchise. Next, we'll go over the ranks available to the Skirmisher subspecies. Given their larger, more muscular builds, they often serve more close-range combat roles, taking advantage of their greater speed. At the bottom, we of course have the Skirmisher Minor. Like other minor ranks, these skirmishers are lightly armored and typically wield plasma pistols, though they've also been seen wielding needlers and needle rifles. Next, we have the Skirmisher Major, distinguished by their crimson armor and red plumage. They're typically equipped in the same manner as minors, though they have also been seen wielding focus rifles. Above the Major is the Skirmisher Murmillo, plural Murmillones. These skirmishers are notably more heavily armored, wearing a protective orange armor that features a helmet and two forearm-mounted point defense gauntlets, which they can use to deflect incoming fire. The helmet provides a number of sensory upgrades, including improved night vision and optical integration with their weaponry. They're also often equipped with hologram equipment. Murmillons can often be seen wielding plasma pistols, needlers, needle rifles, and focus rifles. Our next rank is the Skirmisher Commando, essentially a special operations skirmisher. Commandos are equipped with an armor almost identical to the Murmillons, save for the green coloration and the lack of point defense gauntlets. They also use the Type 27 hologram armor ability. Skirmisher Commando units were originally used by pre-Covenant Magyar governments to combat looting and piracy among Magyar asteroid colonies. Among the Covenant, they make up specialized combat units, operating in discrete, close-knit groups with extremely specific mission parameters. At the top of the skirmisher infantry hierarchy are the Champions. Gold-armored skirmishers, they too have the hologram ability. Armament-wise, they use the same weapons as the last several ranks have used. As far as games go, skirmishers have sadly only appeared in Halo Reach. They do appear elsewhere in the fiction though, including some stories set after the Human Covenant War. I point this out because there's a common misconception that all or even a large number of skirmishers died in the Battle of Reach. I can't necessarily blame anybody for thinking this, since it was reportedly told to a couple of news outlets by a Bungie employee back when Reach was still coming out. The point is though, in the lore, they're alive and plentiful. Wrapping up the Magyar as a whole is a bit of a standout for such a low-ranked species, the title of Shipmaster or Shipmistress. Traditionally only held by elites and brutes, a few Magyar were allowed to hold this title. As their society is matriarchal, most were shipmistresses. Shipmistresses and shipmasters were typically employed by the Ministry of Tranquility and usually only allowed to command Magyar ships, though there are instances of some commanding Covenant frigates. Magyar shipmistresses and shipmasters have only appeared in the books, comics, and other expanded universe media. From there we move on to the Yanmaya or drones. Hailing from Palamak in the Naprit system, the Yanmaya are an insectoid species with a caste system consisting of non-reproductive workers and soldiers, reproductive males, and reproductive queens. They were encountered by the Covenant in 1112 CE and are one of the few species that managed to stand up to the alien hegemony's might. Though technologically inferior, their sheer numbers gave the Yanmaya a huge edge. Further, believing Palamak to contain Forerunner relics, the Covenant were unwilling to glass the planet. Eventually, the Prophet leadership of the Covenant found a way to communicate with the Yanmaya and ended the war with a treaty. The Yanmei were brought into the Covenant initially as mechanics, and eventually as soldiers. The Yanmei ranking structure is much simpler than anything we've covered thus far and should sound fairly familiar. At the bottom are the Yanmei miners. Their exoskeletons are usually a simple yellow-green, but not always. Like all Yanmei soldiers, they are equipped with anti-gravity pods that allow them to fly freely. Often they wield plasma pistols, but occasionally deploy with needlers or even plasma rifles. Yanmei miners often find themselves under Yanmei, Kigyar, or even Ungoi Major control. Yanmei miners first appeared in Halo 2 along with the Yanmei species as a whole, and have appeared since in Halo 3, ODST, Reach, and Spartan Assault among other EU sources. Next, we of course have the Yanmei Majors, who are distinguished by their red exoskeletons. Majors again have grav pods to allow for extended flight, and occasionally deploy with energy shields. They wield plasma pistols, needlers, and occasionally plasma rifles, commanding Yanmei miners and often answering to Kigyar or Brute Majors, though occasionally Spec Ops Ungoi. Yanmei Majors first appeared in Halo 3 ODST, and also appear in Halo Reach and Spartan Strike. We then have the Yanmei Ultra, distinguished by their cyan or blue exoskeletons with a forked horn-like structure on their heads. They again have the standard Yanmei grav pods and also sport energy shielding, albeit a very weak form. They typically wield plasma pistols and needlers and often command lower-ranking Yanmei and on occasion, Lances of Ungoi. They also appear in Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach. Finally, we have the Yanmei Leader or Yanmei Captain Major at the top of the list. These Yanmei have a strong gold exoskeleton and deploy with relatively strong energy shields. Typically, they deploy with plasma rifles and can command lower-ranking Yanmei, Kigyar, and Ungoi. They have thus far only appeared in Halo 3 ODST, specifically in Firefight. Next up we have the Huragok or Engineers, a truly standout species among the Covenant. First discovered by the Prophets prior to the founding of the Covenant, the Huragok are not living organisms, strictly speaking. They are in fact super advanced computers, their bodies made up of nanotechnology that closely mimics organs and tissue. A creation of the Forerunners, Huragok have one drive: to maintain and repair, be that technology or, in rare cases, biology. With their multiple tentacles, which can split into microscopically fine cilia, Huragok can interface with any sort of machinery on almost any level, even interacting with electronic data storage. Within the Covenant, the Huragok would maintain existing technology, unlock the secrets of newly discovered tech, and aid in the development of new technology. Being Forerunner creations though, they couldn't simply override safeties or restrictions put in place on Forerunner tech, not without a great deal of time at least. Though rarely seen on the battlefield, they have been deployed, often equipped with an explosive harness to prevent them from falling into enemy hands. These harnesses can sometimes be equipped with shield generators that provide added protection to nearby Covenant forces, or healing units to fix up infantry on the field. Huragok appear in Halo 3 ODST, Halo Reach, Halo Wars, and Halo Wars 2, though they've had numerous appearances in the expanded media. Interestingly, they were originally intended to appear in the original trilogy, but kept getting cut until Halo 3 ODST finally brought them into the games. Now we come to the truly alien Lekgolo, a species of worm or eel-like being that have limited intelligence on their own, but can come together in colonies that create gestalt forms with much higher intelligence, such as the MGALEKGOLO or Hunter. Lekgolo hail from a gas giant called Te in the Sphere system. First contact with the Covenant occurred in 789 BCE, when the Covenant found Te with their luminaries, a device that can track Forerunner artifacts. By this time, the Lekgolo had colonized several of Te's moons and Forerunner installations that orbited the gas giant. To the horror of the Covenant, many of these Forerunner structures had been eaten away at by the Lekgolo, the remnant debris becoming the rings of Te. The Covenant began a campaign of extermination but found destroying the trillions of Lekgolo to be an impossible task, given that they often live on and around the very relics the Covenant wanted to save. Instead, an Arbiter was created to study the Lekgolo and found that not all of them would eat the Forerunner relics, some instead eating around them. The Arbiter suggested taming the Lekgolo and putting their abilities to use, to which the Prophets ultimately agreed. Negotiations were had, the Prophets eventually threatening to destroy the LETGOLO with nuclear weapons. Facing extinction, the LETGOLO surrendered and joined the Covenant. Within the Covenant, LETGOLO would be used a number of different ways. At the most basic level, they were used to more deeply explore the Forerunner dreadnought that stood at the center of High Charity, unlocking its secrets for the Sanshayun Prophets. However, these were often individual LETGOLO worms. The Covenant also uses the various Gestalt colony forms LETGOLO take. The most familiar Gestalt are the MGALEKGOLO, also known as Hunters. Hunters are always deployed in pairs, the pair actually comprising a single LETGOLO colony. MGALEKGOLO colonies always start as one Gestalt, but split into two when they grow too large. These pairs, bond brothers, share a close bond, and when one dies, the other will go berserk. Under the Covenant, MGALEKGOLO are contained in a massive, bulky blue set of armor that features a large shield on the left arm and an assault cannon on the right. The assault cannon fires bolts or streams of radioactive incendiary gel, the same stuff used for fuel rod guns. MGALEKGOLO don't have any apparent ranks, and can often be dismissive of other Covenant species, save the Sangheili. Interestingly, gold-armored MGALEKGOLO appeared during the events of Halo 3 ODST, though the reasons for this armor have yet to be explained. Along with ODST, MGALEKGOLO have appeared in Halo CE, 2, 3, Wars, Reach, 4, 5, Halo Wars 2, and Fireteam Raven, among other media. MGALEKGOLO colonies are also used to drive Covenant assault platforms such as the Locust, Scarab, and Harvester. MGALEKGOLO make up at least part of the massive colony that drives Scarabs, and a type of Gestalt called a Sabao LETGOLO are used in Harvesters. Despite essentially being the onboard computers for these machines, the LETGOLO colonies are rarely given full control of them. LETGOLO take on a number of more interesting forms in the post-war era, but that's a list for another day. After that, we have the JIRALHANAE, aka the Brutes. Native to the world of Doisak and the Othsanen system, the JIRALHANAE are one of the most recent additions to the Covenant, having joined in 2492 CE, only 30 years before the Human-Covenant War began. At the time the Covenant found them, the species had just rediscovered radio and rocketry, having previously nuked themselves back to the Stone Age in an event called the First Immolation. Many JIRALHANAE were eager to join the Covenant, and those that resisted had little means to fight back. The species as a whole was quick to adopt the Covenant religion. JIRALHANAE were deployed by the Covenant as heavy infantry, though some would earn their way to higher positions, especially under the High Prophet of Truth, who planned to eventually have the JIRALHANAE replace the Sangheili within the Covenant. Just prior to or after the Great Schism, a massive Covenant civil war, the JIRALHANAE received upgraded power armor and expanded ranks. For ranks, we again start at the bottom with the JIRALHANAE Minor. Typically, miners are equipped with blue helmets and minimal armor, though this isn't always the case. After the outbreak of the Great Schism, miners, like other JIRALHANAE forces, were equipped with cyan power armor. Though, as is typical of the Covenant, this armor was less protective than what was given to higher ranks. JIRALHANAE miners can be deployed with any number of weapons including spikers, plasma rifles, carbines, maulers, brute shots, and more. They'll sometimes carry an armor lock module or deployable cover, too. JIRALHANAE miners first appeared in Halo 2 along with the JIRALHANAE species as a whole, and went on to appear in Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach, along with other media. Next up is the JIRALHANAE Major. Pre-Schism, Majors were either equipped similar to miners or captains, depending on who they were deployed with. For example, Tartarus's Majors simply had a wraparound neck brace, bandolier, shoulder armor, and a simple helmet. On the other hand, the Majors deployed during the Battle of Reach wore yellow armor with a helmet, chest plate, shoulder armor, and shin braces. During the Schism, Majors received blue power armor similar to JIRALHANAE miners. Majors are typically equipped with spikers, plasma rifles, fuel rod guns, brute shots, carbines, or maulers, and sometimes have deployable cover. JIRALHANAE Majors appear in Halo 2, Halo 3, ODST, and Reach, among other media. After that, we have the JIRALHANAE Ultra. The highest of the basic infantry ranks, the Ultra largely seems to have come about with the onset of the Great Schism. Ultra armor uses the same pattern as miners and majors, though colored violet. Ultras will often command groups of lower-ranking Jiralhanae, Ungoi, and Kigyar, and answer to a captain or chieftain. They are typically equipped with spikers, brute shots, or carbines, though occasionally use beam rifles. They are also seen piloting choppers or prowlers. As for equipment, they usually have deployable cover, bubble shields, or regenerators. Jiralhanae Ultras appear in Halo 3, Halo Wars, and Halo 3 ODST. Next, we come to the specialist ranks, starting with Stalkers. Though they saw more regular use after the Great Schism like many of their kin, the Stalker has been in use since the early years of the Human Covenant War. These early years at least partially saw Jiralhanae Stalkers as part of a group called Bloodstars, which were led by Special Operations Sangheili from the Silent Shadow. We'll talk more about them later. Stalkers are stealth troops equipped with dark gray armor that can cloak the wearer. The Bloodstar variant is described as a dark red like the Silent Shadow armor. In-game, they deploy with plasma rifles, spikers, or maulers, and have firebomb grenades and radar jamming equipment. Stalkers appear in Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST, among other places. Next we have Jiralhanae Jumpers, or Jump Pack Jiralhanae. Wearing a cyan armor, these are airborne units that move around with jump packs, serving as a counterpart for Sangheili Rangers in many cases, though they can only make limited jumps rather than a Ranger's full aerial maneuvering. Jumpers have served in the Covenant since at least the early years of the Human Covenant War. These Jiralhanae can be equipped with a variety of weapons including brute shots, spikers, plasma rifles, and carbines, among other weaponry, along with a variety of equipment. Jiralhanae Jumpers appear in Halo 3, Halo Wars, Halo 3 ODST, where we see the inclusion of Major and Ultra Jumpers, Halo Spartan Assault, and Halo Wars 2, among other places. Closing out the specialist ranks are Jiralhanae Bodyguards, which, as the name suggests, guard Jiralhanae Chieftain or other Covenant political figures. As a side note, I can't help but wonder if the Honor Guard rank evolved into the Bodyguard one, given how similar their duties seem to be. These Jiralhanae are equipped with a pale blue armor that resembles Captain's armor. They can be found wielding plasma rifles, brute shots, maulers, and carbines, and will often carry bubble shields, power drains, or regenerators. Jiralhanae Bodyguards appear almost exclusively in Halo 3. Continuing onward, we have Jiralhanae Captains. Jiralhanae Captains had a couple different appearances before the Great Schism, one variant seeing them largely unarmored but carrying a holographic red flag over their shoulders, another wearing partial yellow armor that closely resembles what they'd be equipped with later on. When equipped with full body armor primarily at the onset of the Great Schism, the standard Captain's armor was violet and the rank was expanded to include gold armored Captain Majors and cyan armored Captain Ultras. The power armor of Captains is more ornate and protective than the lower ranks, with each Captain rank's armor providing more and more resistance to weapons fire. Captains lead lower-ranking Jiralhanae and other Covenant forces. Regular Captains and Major Captains use plasma rifles, spikers, or brute shots, with Ultras sometimes carrying carbines or even fuel rod guns. Captains first appeared in Halo 2 and go on to appear in Halo 3, ODST, and Reach, among other media. Next we have Jiralhanae Honor Guardsmen, or Brute Honor Guards. A rank held by the Sangheili throughout most of the Covenant's existence, Jiralhanae were tasked with taking over guardianship of the Prophets following the death of the Prophet of Regret on Delta Halo in 2552. This exchange of hats, the changing of the guard, would be a precursor to later restructuring of the Covenant, with Jiralhanae taking over and ousting the Sangheili. Jiralhanae Honor Guards, for their brief appearance, were tasked with guarding the High Prophets. Like their Sangheili predecessors, they wore ornate yellow and red armor. They wielded energy staves when not in combat and often used carbines, brute shots, or plasma rifles in combat. They appear almost exclusively in Halo 2. Standing at the top of the Jiralhanae are the various chieftain ranks. The primary rank here is simply known as Chieftain. Chieftains are leaders of Jiralhanae packs both on the battlefield and in society, acting as spiritual leaders to their pack. The standard Chieftain armor has followed a fairly standard design during their time with the Covenant, modeled after a Dagorath, a large predatory animal native to the Jiralhanae homeworld, though this armor is not without its variation. Chieftain armor is often a combination of red and black. Following the Great Schism, the armor's design was made far more ornate and protective. The armor also featured energy shields. Another variant of the chieftain armor, notably worn by the army commander known as the Thrall Slayer, has been seen on a few occasions. Regardless of armor, a common defining feature of chieftains is the gravity hammer. Based on JIRALHANAE warhammers from their pre-Covenant days, these hammers denote a position of leadership. Still, chieftains can sometimes be seen wielding other weapons such as fuel rod guns, plasma launchers, or even plasma cannons. Chieftains appear in Halo 3, ODST, Reach, Halo Wars, Spartan Assault, Spartan Strike, and Halo Wars 2, among other media. Just above the standard chieftain, we have JIRALHANAE War Chieftains, the highest rank a JIRALHANAE can hold. Clad in gold ornate armor with full energy shields, they often wield fuel rod guns or plasma cannons. They have mostly appeared in Halo 3 and ODST, with minor appearances in a few other places among the expanded media. Closing out the JIRALHANAE are a handful of titles which are distinct from actual ranks. First up is Shipmaster. Though largely held by Sangheili for much of the Covenant's history, some JIRALHANAE were allowed to captain older ships, often with certain features and weaponry removed or disabled. After the outbreak of the Great Schism, and presumably leading up to it, more and more JIRALHANAE were put in Shipmaster positions. And as brute command of ships expanded, so did their command of Covenant fleets and their appointment as Fleet Masters. Shipmasters and Fleetmasters don't directly appear in the games, but you can bet a few of the Covenant fleets seen in Halo 3 and even Halo 2 would have had JIRALHANAE Shipmasters and Fleetmasters. At the very top of the JIRALHANAE hierarchy is the Chieftain of the JIRALHANAE, the political and military leader of the species. This title was created during the JIRALHANAE's time in the Covenant as part of the Prophet of Truth's plan to replace the Sangheili with the JIRALHANAE. The title was only held by one JIRALHANAE during the time of the Covenant, Tartarus. After the chieftain's death at the hands of the Arbiter, another chieftain, Sethagus, believed he might have a chance to take the title for himself. However, his ambitions were cut short by the demon known as John 117. That wraps up the JIRALHANAE and brings us to their rivals and the original military might of the Covenant, the Sangheili. The Sangheili, or elites, are one of the two founding species of the Covenant. After a century-long war with the other founding species, the Sanshayum, or Prophets, the two came together to found the Covenant under the Writ of Union for the task of finding the Holy Halos and enacting their great journey. A proud warrior race, the Sangheili would become the primary military force even as new species were integrated, and Sangheili became the primary language of the Covenant. When a Sangheili warrior first joins the Covenant, they are made a miner. Sporting a simple blue combat harness, these basic infantry are nevertheless a notable threat and command lances or Covenant military units of Ungoi or Kigyar. Interestingly, miners who don't die or receive a promotion after their first campaign typically commit suicide to retain their honor. Note, that's their first campaign, not their first mission. Miner armor comes in a small variety of designs, which is to say that all the variants seen across the games are canon variations of the miner combat harness. Incidentally, this is true for all armor variation among all ranks and species. Miners most often wield plasma rifles, though occasionally they have been known to wield energy swords. Typically, only aristocrats are allowed to in Sangheili society, though this restriction doesn't apply to the military. Miners appear in Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo 3, ODST as corpses along with several other Sangheili ranks, Halo Wars, Reach, Spartan Assault, Spartan Strike, Fireteam Raven, and other places in the expanded media. Next up we have the Major. Also known as Obedientaries, the Sangheili term for this rank roughly translates to Lesser Chosen or Charged with Glory. Major isn't a simple officer rank, as while majors will often command lances of lesser races and minor Sangheili, they will also be in the presence of a shipmaster due to their critical role on the front lines. They'll occasionally even be second in command aboard a Covenant ship. Majors typically wear a combat harness that's identical in form to that worn by minors, though crimson in color and featuring stronger energy shields. A subset of the major rank, officers, wear a more ornate armor appropriately known as the officer harness. Functionally though, there is no difference between majors and officers. Majors and officers typically have plasma rifles, carbines, or needlers. Majors appear in Halo CE, 2, 3, Spartan Assault and Strike, and Fireteam Raven among other media. Officers first appear in Halo Reach, then in the Anniversary Edition of Halo CE, among some minor other media. After that we have the Ultra, also known as Evocatus, the highest rank for a Sangheili warrior. Veterans of the battlefield, Ultras are less focused on leadership and more on combat. When attached to Covenant armies, Ultras will elect a representative, a class known as Evocati Delegatus, to answer to the army war host until all objectives are complete. Ultras are expected to eventually ascend to other roles such as a seneschal, entering a political career, or return to their Covenant ministry to serve as instructors. Ultras wear a silver-white armor with even stronger energy shield than majors or officers. Their armor is often the same in form as minor combat harnesses, though they have been seen wearing more ornate armor with a prominent helmet crest and full face covering. Ultras will wield a variety of weapons from plasma rifles to repeaters to concussion rifles and energy swords. Ultras first appeared in Halo 2 and went on to appear in Halo 3, Reach, and Fireteam Raven among other media. Closing up the basic field ranks, we have the Sangheili General. As the rank would imply, generals typically command large Covenant invasion forces during ground operations. Like any Sangheili, generals will personally lead their forces into battle. During invasion campaigns, several generals are needed working in concert to handle any situations and conflicts that arise. Though mostly seen on the ground operating as field masters, generals can hold naval titles like Shipmaster. Generals wear an ornate gold armor with strong energy shields. They can be seen wielding a variety of weapons from plasma rifles and concussion rifles to fuel rod guns and energy swords. Generals so far have appeared almost exclusively in Halo Reach. Next we'll get into some specialized ranks, starting with the Sangheili Storm. Once again, while this rank primarily appeared in Halo 4 and 5, the Storm rank were a specialized shock unit within the original Covenant. Like many of these specialist ranks, the Storm had their own internal ranking structure, theirs mirroring the structure used by basic infantry. Blue Armored Storm were the equivalent of minors, red armor the equivalent of majors, ultras with a red/white armor, and even gold armor ones for commanders. Storm Sangheili again primarily appear in post-war media like Halo 4 and Halo 5. After that we have the Ranger class. Equipped with a hermetically sealed combat harness with anti-gravity or thruster packs, Rangers are primarily deployed for EVA operations, though they have been seen on ground operations. Their energy shields are typically around the same strength as lower-ranking Sangheili. Rangers are considered part of Covenant Fleet security and have little internal ranking, the leader of a squad of Rangers holding the title of First Ranger, the second in command being titled Second Ranger. The only other rank that we've seen is that of Ranger Commander, which sports gold Ranger armor. Rangers appear in Halo 2, Halo Reach, Halo 4 and 5, and Halo Wars 2, among other media. Next up we have the Special Operations units. Not to be confused with Sangheili stealth units, Special Operations Sangheili are clad in black or dark purple, and equipped with both active camouflage and energy shields. As the name Special Operations would suggest, missions undertaken by this group were considered some of the most dangerous and difficult. Special Operations Sangheili wear a variety of armor configurations, including basic minor harnesses to assault or infiltration harnesses, depending on the mission, fleet attachment, or other factors. There are a limited number of Special Operation ranks, with your basic Spec Ops Sangheili, the Spec Ops Officer, Spec Ops Subcommander, and at the top, Spec Ops Commander. Unlike other ranks, Spec Ops Commanders wear white armor. They also hold a lot of political and military authority, holding command of all Spec Ops personnel and materiel in a fleet and considered worthy of speaking directly to the hierarchs. Spec Ops Sangheili appear in Halo CE, 2, 3, and Reach, with the Spec Ops Commander rank only known to be held by Urtas Vadum, appearing in Halo 2 and 3 primarily. Spec Ops Sangheili and its wider variety of ranks also appear in the expanded media. Before moving on, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Silent Shadow, a subdivision of the Special Operations branch. Little is known about this division, though it is known that they were highly respected by other Sangheili and often took part in assassination and extraction missions. They sported a special crimson combat harness. Little is known of their internal ranks, though the leader of a squad would be titled First Blade. During the Covenant War, a First Blade would occasionally lead select groups of JIRALHANAE stalkers known as Bloodstars. The Silent Shadow have thus far only appeared in the expanded media. And quickly, another group under the Special Operations banner is the Commandos. There's not much to say here as we know very little about them other than the combat harness they wore, which appeared in Halo 3. Moving on though, we next have Sangheili stealth units. Sporting either light blue, silver, or brown armor, they wear basic infantry or infiltration harnesses that would either lack or sport very weak energy shields. Operating under fleet security, they are typically lightly armed with plasma rifles, needlers, or energy swords, and primarily serve to gather intelligence. A specific type of stealth Sangheili was the Osuna, a temporary rank bestowed by a prophet for a mission of critical importance. These missions could be intelligence gathering or assassination based. Stealth elites appear in Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo Wars, Spartan Assault, and Spartan Strike, among a couple other media appearances. Osuna have only appeared thus far in the book Halo the Flood. Next up we have the Zealot class, a high-ranking military order. Working under the Ministry of Fervent Intercession, the Zealots are organized into several different chapters, each with their own ranking structure and interpretations of ancient honor codes and debt pacts. As the name would suggest, Zealots are among the most devoted worshippers of the Covenant religion and are known for their unparalleled combat skill. Zealot combat harnesses come in many different configurations depending on the chapter, fleet assignment, cultural background, and more. Typically a maroon color, Zealots holding titles such as Shipmaster will sport the golden color of leadership. Little is known about the internal ranking structures of Zealots, save for the rank of Field Marshal. Field Marshals have their own distinct combat harness and hold supreme authority over Covenant land forces, basically being the equivalent of a shipmaster or supreme commander on the ground. Zealots are commonly seen wielding energy swords, but will carry weapons like plasma rifles or fuel rod guns. Zealots have appeared in most of the Halo games including Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo Wars, Halo Reach, Halo 4, Spartan Assault, and Halo 5, among other appearances in expanded media. Closing up the actual ranks, we have the Sangheili Honor Guardsmen or Honor Guard. As discussed earlier, these Sangheili were tasked with protecting the High Prophets and other high-ranking San Shayum. As such, only the most skilled Sangheili warriors were offered the chance to join their ranks. When on duty, they would be expected to cut down almost anyone who drew a weapon in the presence of a hierarch and keep order during High Council meetings. Honor Guards wear an ornate red and gold armor. Within the Honor Guard ranks also exists the Lights of Sanghelios, aka Honor Guard Ultras or Helios Ultras. This elite unit are distinguished by their white and gold armor and could be tasked as personal guards for high-ranking San Shayum. Honor Guards and Honor Guard Ultras appear almost exclusively in Halo 2, though the Honor Guard rank also appears in Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2. They also have a few appearances in the expanded universe. They usually carry a ceremonial staff when on duty, but wield energy swords and plasma rifles when in battle. Up next, we look at the abundance of titles available to the Sangheili, first up being Field Master. Sporting gold armor, a signifier of leadership, Field Masters command General Covenant infantry on the ground, often battalion-sized or greater. They sport powerful energy shields and often wield energy swords among other weaponry. Field Masters have appeared in Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo Wars, Halo Reach, Spartan Assault, and Spartan Strike, though they have only been named as such in EU and ancillary materials. After that, we once again return to the title of Shipmaster. As discussed, these gold armored elites are the ones that command Covenant ships. There's not much else to say that we haven't already covered, but it's interesting to note that some shipmasters will sport a Daumir fur cloak, Daumirs being a native animal to Sanghelios, a tradition that dates back to the ancient seafaring days of the Sangheili. Shipmasters appear in Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach, Spartan Assault, Halo 4, Halo 5, and Halo Wars 2, among other EU appearances. We next have the title of Fleet Master. As the name implies, Fleet Masters command entire fleets of Covenant ships, often leading from a large flagship vessel like a CAS-class assault carrier. During a ship's construction, Fleet Masters can order design tweaks to be made. The Fleet Master title has technically only appeared in Halo 3 as far as games go, though not by name. It's used more commonly in the expanded universe. Fleet Masters appointed directly by the High Prophets to lead major expeditions would be granted the title of Supreme Commander. Unlike a Fleet Master, Supreme Commanders may command an entire contingent of fleets, overseeing major operations like blockades or orbital bombardments. While also typically wearing the gold armor of command, their armor designs can often be more ornate and they will sometimes wear a purple cloak. Once again, Supreme Commander has technically appeared in the games, notably Halo 2, though not by name. It's more commonly seen in the expanded media. After that, we have the title of Imperial Admiral, what would seem to be the highest and most powerful title a Sangheili can hold. To date, only one Imperial Admiral has been known to exist, Zaitan Jar Watanri. Zaitan wore an ornate silver armor with gold inlay patterns and a purple cloak, essentially the Covenant equivalent to a fleet admiral. Zaitan was so powerful that the Prophets feared him and assigned the Admiral to guard the fringes of Covenant space. The title of Imperial Admiral has thus far only appeared in Halo the Ghosts of Onyx and as part of the tabletop game Halo Fleet Battles. Finally, we wrap up the Sangheili with a look at their political titles, starting with High Counselor. For Sangheili who decide on a more political path, none is more significant than that of High Counselor. Sitting on the Covenant High Council across from their San Shayum counterparts, High Counselors make up the primary governing body of the Covenant. They would be present at the Ascension ceremony of new High Prophets, one Sangheili Counselor selected to ask each new Prophet their new name. Sangheili Counselors wear an armor similar to the basic combat harness worn by many Sangheili, though with a much larger and more ornate headpiece. The armor itself is silver and has powerful energy shields. Though mostly involved in politics now, Counselors are still extremely skilled and capable warriors. Sangheili Counselors have only appeared in Halo 2 as far as the games go, with limited appearances in the expanded media. Finally, we wrap up with the title probably most well known to fans, Arbiter. In the distant past, Arbiters were warrior judge kings, warlords who would conquer and rule over large Sangheili populations. After the formation of the Covenant, the title of Arbiter became more political in nature, a title bestowed upon the Commander-in-Chief of the Covenant military. During difficult times, Arbiters would be appointed by the hierarchs to enact their will, often taking on tasks deemed suicidal. Eventually, an Arbiter would die in battle fulfilling his purpose, and a new Arbiter would be christened. Once considered a badge of greatness, the title of Arbiter became a badge of shame for fallen warriors after an Arbiter, Val Chavami, went against the will of the Prophets. From then on, an Arbiter would be created during a time of great need for the Covenant, appointed to a disgraced Sangheili warrior as a chance to die with honor. In the games, two Arbiters are known to fans, Ribamorami from Halo Wars, and Thel 'Vadam from Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo 5. Both have appeared in expanded universe media, though most notably Thel. Other Arbiters have appeared or been mentioned in some expanded universe media as well, to limited degrees. And finally, we wrap up our look at the Covenant with the San Shayum, aka the Prophets. The other founding species of the Covenant, the San Shayum, hail from the world of Janjir Quom. At the height of the Forerunner Ecumene, the San Shayum were one of the few species that had advanced to a level comparable to the Forerunners. Somewhat ironically, these ancient San Shayum had an alliance with the ancient spacefaring human race of the time. They were also very focused on youth and beauty, infamous for their hedonism and near universal appeal to other races. Try getting that out of your head. Following the activation of the Halo Array, this history was largely forgotten or altered, and their society shifted towards one that valued age and wisdom. Millennia later, in 2200 BCE, the abundance of Forerunner technology on their homeworld, in particular a crashed Forerunner keyship, led them to a grand civil war. There were the conservative Stoics, who believed Forerunner technology was sacred and should be left alone, and the militantly progressive reformists who wanted to study and use it. This war of wills only ended when the reformists finally managed to figure out how to activate the key ship, which they called the Dreadnought, and left the planet, ripping out a chunk of it as they left. After the founding of the Covenant, this chunk would be reformed into the Dome of High Charity. Following the Writ of Union in 852 BCE, the Sanshayum became the ruling caste of the newly established Covenant, in control of all technology and largely in charge of political affairs. Early in the Covenant's history, Sanshayum would serve as starship captains, gunners, and officers, but by the time of the Human Covenant War, the last remnant of Sanshayum in active military service were the Prelates. A select few Sanshayum would be chosen and brought to the Sacred Promissory in High Charity, where they had their bodies and minds enhanced. Capable of releasing chemicals into their bodies to enhance their combat abilities or control their consciousness, they were powerful enough to give veteran Sangheili pause. However, these augmentations were not all powerful, meant to be used in short bursts. Pushing themselves too far could result in exhaustion, seizures, and even death in rare cases. However, the vast majority of Sanshayum took on political and administrative roles. When working in one of the Covenant's numerous ministries, a Sanshayum would start out as a junior staffer, working their way up to senior staffers, potentially even vice ministers or ministers. Many ministers held positions on the High Council, the primary theocratic, aristocratic, legislative, and decision-making body for the Covenant. In times when a minister could not make a council meeting, a vice minister would attend in his stead. Ministers and minor prophets, also known as precentors, would occasionally be attached to a Covenant fleet to bless a glassing or oversee an artifact recovery effort, among other tasks. Other titles or positions Sanshayum could hold included steward, a servant or advisor or even bodyguard to a higher-ranking Sanshayum or member of nobility, vice cleric or cleric, a religious office, philologist, a leader of the ascetic priests who maintained and cared for the oracle within the Dreadnought at the center of High Charity, High Lord, a title of nobility, and secondary administrator, one who served as an assistant to a high prophet. It's important to note that Sanshayum could hold multiple titles at a time. And at the top of the hierarchy was, of course, the High Prophets. At any given time, there would be three, each wielding near absolute authority. They could reorganize fleets without council approval, create arbiters, the will of the prophets, create new ministries, and more. Often they would do this for their own gain and ambitions. Still, these hierarchs were not without limitations. They had to obey the Book of Hierarchs, an official ruling book. They could not interfere with the role of celibates, a list that dictated which Sanshayum could or could not breed. And as they often came into power using blackmail or extortion, they too were just as vulnerable to such practices. Hierarchs, like most Sanshayum, sat in a gravity throne, though theirs were much more luxurious and ornate, equipped with energy shields and a gravity cannon for defense. They were protected by Sangheili honor guards who would kill almost anyone who drew a weapon in their presence, the exception seeming to be an arbiter. Of these Sanshayum ranks and titles, only High Counselors and Hierarchs are confirmed to have appeared in the games, both appearing in Halo 2, and Hierarchs appearing in one form or another in Halo 3 and Halo Wars. Naturally, Sanshayum appear more prominently and in more varied roles in the expanded fiction. And that wraps up the military makeup of the Covenant, or as much as we know of it at this time. If you're an avid reader of the expanded universe, you'll likely notice that some ranks and titles, particularly among the Sangheili, were left out. Again, this video was about ranks of the Covenant specifically. Maybe later on we could take a look at the feudal society of Sanghelios and the various positions the Sangheili could hold there, but that's for another time. And again, if you're wondering about post-war ranks for any of the species, we'll talk about that in time. For those who aren't as involved in the EU, I hope you found this video entertaining and enlightening. And if you'd like to know more about the Covenant and its makeup, allow me to recommend Halo Contact Harvest and Halo Broken Circle. While most books do feature at least some insight into the Covenant or the Sangheili, these two in particular dive into the makeup, politics, and history of the Covenant. That they happen to be good reads is just a bonus. And if you don't have time to read, or for any other reason, it never hurts to consider signing up for Audible with thousands of audiobooks, including all the Halo novels. If you're interested, you can get a 30-day free trial by using my affiliate link, audibletrial.com/HaloCanon. The 30-day trial gets you one free audiobook and can be canceled at any time without losing any book you've purchased. If you're interested, I've left a link in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this, be sure to check out Audible. By going to audibletrial.com/halocanon, you can get a 30-day free trial and a free audiobook. Audible's selection is unmatched and includes all the Halo novels. You can cancel at any time and keep any audiobooks you've purchased. So check out audibletrial.com/halocanon today.